Hi, I'm Dave Brickley. I'm senior producer at Rebellion Oxford, working on Aliens vs Predator. Aliens vs Predator is a game which allows you to experience the same story from the point of view of 3 different species. It initially starts off with the desecration of a sacred predator artifact, which draws the predators to their ancient planet in order to investigate what's going on. When there, they basically discover the humans colony who's attempted to break in and steal technology, thereby unleashing, of course, the xenomorph threat, which we're buried deep within. So the intention with the game is to basically let you experience that one spark, that one turning point, from literally the playable perspective of each one. You have 3 individual campaigns in single player which can be switched between at any time, really. And there are crossover points between them where you will recognise elements of the story but from a different point of view. So you're playing from a suspenseful, survival horror point of view as a Marine, whereas with the Predator you're far more empowered and you're a hunter and a stalker. So there's a lot of emotions that the player goes through in experiencing the whole range of the story.
I guess this is where the trouble started.
It's of a considerable length, basically, when you stack the 3 of them together. And that's before we look at sort of the standalone modes such as Survivor or even get into multiplayer. So it's a pretty long game to get through and see everything that it has to offer. And Light and Dark is, what it's like in this day and age. There's so many sort of graphical, features that are being enabled by the hardware and the amount of processing power that you have in consoles these days. But with the original '99 game of Alien vs Predator, Rebellion took the characters in a direction that we wanted to stick with. There was very much an evocation of being what an alien meant, being what a Marine meant. And part of that was the fear of the dark, or if you're the alien, the need to be in the dark. So what we've had the chance to do is to play on that, to make as much of the shadows, and when you throw a flare down as a Marine, the eerie full body shadow that it casts on a wall, for example, or as the alien, the ability to run up and smash all the lights in a particular area, turning it to your advantage so that the Marine is much more on the defensive, much more looking for a safe place. So in that way, we've kind of managed to make use of modern technology in a way that really fits with the spirit of that original game that so many people fondly remember. Well, in essence, working within this franchise, there's an awful lot of material to draw from. It's also not to be forgotten that these were films, and making them into interactive experiences takes an awful lot of figuring out how should it. In essence, the Predator is the ultimate hunter, the Xeno is the ultimate biological weapon. If we made games that were true to the spirit of the movie, they wouldn't be much fun as games because there would be no balance, no possibility of balance. So we have to recognise that behind the controller is a person, and that person should feel like each of those characters. They should recognise how distinct they are. They should have lots of different abilities, the ability to hang off a ceiling or the ability to go invisible. But ultimately, when they come up against another human, their skill is going to determine which one triumphs. And that's really at the core of the game. Well, the first thing to say is that the Marine has no such moves. You're a human, you're a good guy, you're trying to stay alive. You have the ability to defend yourself at close quarters, but otherwise you're going to fall back on your weapons. But frankly, coming back to my other point about putting you in the shoes of the ultimate hunter and the ultimate weapon, you're going to want to be naughty. Let's face it. So when you look back at the '88 Predator movie, poor Billy did not have a happy ending. We saw what happened to him, his last stand. So putting them into the game was our way of kind of paying tribute to that movie. We might have taken it a little bit further, but I hope that everything that we've done is in the spirit of what a Predator might do. He's a hunter, he's got honour, but if he defeats his foe, it's very much in his spirit to not, to want to crow about it. And I think the kill moves are kind of like a demonstration of that. Equally, if you're playing as a Xeno, he enjoys his kills. You can see that right from Harry Dean Stanton in the '79 movie. He wants to see the fear in his victim before he kills him. It's not just about efficiency. It's about There's a nastiness to that character, and you know, we had to bring that across. The flip side is it's so removed from reality that I think you really can. When you see people playing it en masse and you hear, they don't wince, they just kind of shout for joy when they see these things happen, and that's kind of how we feel as well. They're graphic, but I think we all saw that movie when we were kids or just getting into our teens, and it didn't scare us, it just excited us. It was kind of like Star Wars as you grew a bit older. So yeah, the kill moves are, you know, yeah, if you look at them back to back, they might look pretty strong, but I mean, they fit very well with what we're trying to do, I hope. There's plenty of toys. I mean, as you find when you sit down and play multiplayer for the first time, it's almost overwhelming in a sense. Because, well, basically, in some of our modes, a single Predator has to be able to take on up to 17 Marines. You know, he's only going to do that if he's fairly well equipped. But, yeah, I mean, the ability to see in thermal vision, the ability to see aliens in an alternate vision, the shoulder cannon, the disc from the comics. I mean, we've looked for inspiration and variety in many sort of sources, and tried to sort of balance it in such a way that you're never entirely dominant as a Predator, but there's lots of different ways of being nasty that give the player more and more reasons to keep playing and keep mastering all these new skills. That's very something hard for me to comment on personally. I mean, ultimately what we've done is make a game for adults, and a game that we do not deem suitable, certainly in our own country, for anything less than the rating it's been granted. The situation in Australia, as you say, they went through the process of talking about the game and deciding what they want to do, and putting out the very lengthy warnings to people about the kind of content that it contains. And we just have to hope that, you know, the government there and the public make, again, adult informed choices about who should play it. Well, we like to think we've got a fairly competitive offering here when it comes to multiplayer. Going back to updating something that made the original game really stand out, and which has been paid tribute to many times since, when it was called Skirmish, the idea of a cooperative game against AI. Has come back in the form of Survivor. You can play it single player, or you can play it with 3 friends. Wave after wave of progressively more difficult and aliens that will behave in a different way is something that really is a great evocation of that James Cameron movie, and that's going to be, we hope, a big favourite. But equally, we've tried to tailor all the modes to offer something that is very much part of the universe. Predator Hunt, for example, a single Predator against many Marines. If you are lucky enough to kill him, you become him. You win the right to be the Predator and stay the Predator if you keep killing. Infestation, which is basically a single alien taking out Marines one by one, and each one that he kills becomes an alien. Again, there's a great turn of the tide in which many Marines in strength, if they don't play together as a team, will quickly find themselves on the receiving end of a mass alien attack. So we've really tried to play to the strengths of the IP and how it feels to be the characters, in terms of designing modes that offer people a reason not to play another multiplayer game, because there are some fantastic multiplayer games out there right now, and if we want people to play this, then we had to offer them something genuinely different and fun, and we like to think there's enough on offer that they're going to find a reason to do so. As I was mentioning before, the Marine does not have any offensive moves, not with his hands anyway. Obviously he's got his pulse rifle and his shotgun and grenades and all the rest of it, but if he comes face to face with a Predator, he can defend himself and win that encounter. That's what we mean by balance. Ultimately, it's going to come down to player skill. You know, if it was a foregone conclusion that in that situation the Predator would win, there is no game. You know, it's as simple as that. However, giving the Predator enough technology, enough pickups, enough agility, enough gadgets that he can take on a dozen Marines if he chooses to be skillful, is the other side of the balance. You know, he should have a player with sufficient skill should be able to triumph against those odds. That's a different kind of balance. It fits exactly as you'd expect with that feeling of, you know, wanting to be the Predator. Equally, if you're a United States colonial Marine in infestation, if you want to survive against the alien, even one alien, you're going to have to work together. that's the way it should be, because it is the ultimate biological weapon in the universe, and you're a meatbag, you know? And as skilled as you are, if you want to survive, you guys are going to have to hang together. So balance is really the key to it all, but it's not there's not one single solution to how we achieve that. It's had to take account of the IP in all its forms, and also, you know, give a human being a chance of triumphing over another, regardless of what species they chose. Aliens vs Predator is out on PS3, 360 and PC on February 19th.
When will you target? Building.